It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the full shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Mary Yerina.
And this is It's Movie Time.
And I'm glad it's movie time.
And you know, you're too young to appreciate Stan and Ollie. But
Perhaps.
Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy were a part of my Abbott and Costello youth. And now there's a movie out with Steve Coogan and John C. Reilly as Stan and Ollie.
And long overdue to have their story told.
Boy, I think so. What kind of a story is it? And I've been through this before, Mary. You know, these teams that don't get along. There's all kinds of crushing problems and so on. Do we have that with Stan and Ollie?
I think we do, although they're used more as an example than I think what was true to life in terms of the depth of their animosity that may have created. And I think it's actually a beautiful representation of just the chemistry and the special chemistry and the brilliance that they had that raised them to the heights of fame in the mid-1930s when the world was in a depression. They were looking for relief and happiness and joy when they went to the movies. And Stan and Ollie were actually paired together by the studios. They had never met. They were thrown together to do film projects and became this brilliant comedy team that even Abbott and Costello and those who came after them cite as being much more brilliant and genius than they ever were. And I think that's portrayed in the film.
You know, and I would go a step further and say that I think this is a really mellow movie compared with what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there's not a lot of throwing of things or anger.
Right.
In fact, when they finally have their confrontation in a very public manner, it's very subtle and more focused on their dialogue.
You know, and I think it's true to life. I think they were pretty nice guys.
I think they were nice guys, and I also think they shared values, which also came through in the film. They, in real life, were very dedicated to the audience and what the audience felt and thought, and they did everything for the audience to the point that Stan Laurel very famously was listed publicly in the phone directories, and anyone could call him, and he would take in a call, and he would personally answer every single fan letter that he received.
I know.
And Oliver Hardy was the same way. And so I think they really had a love and appreciation for the audience that completely comes through in the film in such a lovely way.
You know, and we get some of the early 30s when they're at their height.
Mm-hmm.
And
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But if you're going to, they're expecting to see all of their shtick going on for a long time. You're not. You're going to see these aging world celebrities dealing with the fact that that Abbott and Costello are eclipsing them.
Yes.
That they have to take a tour of Great Britain, I guess, in order to revive their careers and maybe get a film contract, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, 16 years later, really after their peak.
Yes, really.
And it is sad from that perspective, or bittersweet, because they still are comic geniuses.
And you know, they show Stan Laurel doing his writing, I guess even past the death of Oliver Hardy. He's still writing. And we have a few moments, not enough for me at all, of when they're creating, where he presents to Ollie the line or the lines, and they work it over. I really love seeing how they work it. You know,
and interestingly, John Reilly, who plays Ollie, and Steve Coogan, who plays Stan, had to learn about each other probably the same way that the real Laurel and Hardy did.
Yes.
And they've talked about how by working through the routines and they really only recreate one very specific routine. They pay homage to a lot of their other
Is that the hospital
comedy.
scene? Or
Actually, it's the Way Out West dance.
the dance? Oh, okay, yeah.
Where they talk about how they had to rehearse that, because not only was that the one scene that they were recreating, but they also had to recreate then the errors that Stan and Ollie made, or liberties that they took, both when they filmed it for the film, which is shown as the opening of Stan and Ollie, the film, but then they also perform it later on stage during their tour of Britain.
Yes.
Where they're now 16 years older. Ollie is much heavier and in poor health. So they actually had to learn the routine perfectly with the errors and then as aging men on stage. And they do a really brilliant job.
Very. I just was moved by these older guys shuffling on that stage so beautifully. And then when they show the actual, the original, and see how really brilliantly they impersonated these guys. And I think there's more than one critic who would tell you that impersonating is not easy. People think they say, oh, well, he's just imitating. Do you know how difficult that would be? And then giving heft to that role?
Well, and comedy also is so much more challenging than people think in terms of the timing and the rehearsal that needs to go into it to get it to seem natural and funny time and time and time again. And so I think overall both of those factors come into play as to just how wonderfully personified Stan and Ollie are in Steve Coogan and John Riley.
I think Coogan and Riley are brilliant in this, and everybody's going to, of course, be very pleased with Riley, as they already, the buzz even before it came out on that. But I wish people would look carefully at the subtlety of Steve Coogan's role in this. He carries that humble, self-effacing, but brilliant little man so beautifully. Even the shots from the back, he walks, as I know Stan walked. I mean, he's doing that all the time. He's moving his body that way. And of course, the prosthetics are pretty impressive, even though, as you pointed out, a little imperfect.
A little imperfect, but I will say John Riley as Ollie, he actually requested that the fat suit that he wore, he didn't wear padding, he wore a fat suit, have weights added to it so that it actually would carry more realistically for him and help him create the character. He also, in addition to the prosthetics, which took, I guess, about 4 hours every day that they shot to put him in, he had brown contact lenses as well. So he's really transformed. And Steve Coogan, and I did not know this until I just listened to an interview that he did, he actually has prosthetics as well. And they are so well done, you can't even really tell because they're more enhancements to his existing chin and his ears to really help them get into character. And it really does help create the illusion and a difference to their fine performances.
I think these are fine actors, probably never get the Academy nod. I don't know why.
Well, they've been nominated, so they've been noticed at least by the Academy.
And I hope that really happens because they're just brilliant. Now, there's something else, a kind of companion piece here that I thought was very nice, and this is the two wives.
Yes.
What do you think?
I thought, first of all, they're played by Shirley Henderson, who plays Lucille, and I'm drawing a blank.
All right, well, let me see here because I certainly
Nina Arianda.
You got it. Good for you.
Plays Ida, Stan's wife, and they are their own comedy routine in and of themselves. The one thing I wish, though, with those two women was that their characters would have been developed a little bit more and scripted a little bit better. I thought that was a little bit lacking in the film.
Physically, they're just a great opposite, just as Stan and Ollie are opposite. The one's a tall Russian-type girl. I forget where she's from.
Somewhere in Eastern Europe.
And then the diminutive.
And
she's overpowered, but loving of Ollie, and they have some shtick that's funny. But you are quite right. It is, and probably that's a sacrifice you make, is that you do have that potential for these two to parallel the leads, and I guess maybe you forsake that. But it is a very nice part of a film.
It is, and the one thing too is I wish because some of it's very inside for instance, Ida, the Russian or Eastern European wife of Stan, actually did appear in a Preston Sturges film.
Oh, right. She says she did.
But she takes every opportunity to refer to
I know that.
which is really funny.
It is.
But you have to kind of know the fact that she really did in real life appear in that one film, which made it even funnier. Which I think having a little more depth to those characters and developed and knowledge about who they were would have made lines like that even funnier.
And we're typical critics
We
complaining that something is underdeveloped. And for instance, for me, the Hal Roach, played by Danny Houston, is undeveloped. He is so testy with those boys, and he has been yet responsible for their great rise to fame. But he is not generous at all.
Well, and they because that's such a short part of the film to set up the rest of the film. They really kind of just give you that stereotypical snapshot of this is what you would have expected of a Hal Roach studio, Hal Roach as the head, because that was back in the heyday of the studio system where they were, and it's referenced that they were both under contract and
they're both underpaid.
And they're underpaid, and
which would not happen today at all.
Not at all.
But it is so great to see how they just gently argue with each other about approaching Roach, about breaking their contract or doing something else. And then the other conflict we have is when Ollie goes off to make a movie with somebody else.
Yes.
You know, that's a tense point moment. Not expanded much, but it does stay with them.
Yes.
We're talking about, the abrasiveness that may not be in this. There is some. There's they have almost a lifetime resentment for each other about a particular thing that Stan wouldn't confront Roach. Which one?
Ollie would not confront Roach.
That Ollie would not confront Roach. And Stan, of course, resenting Ollie going off with another partner. I love that. It was underneath it, but they were such gentlemen with each other about it.
Well, and I think in the end they had a genuine love for each other.
I agree.
Even though their friendship was born of being thrown together in the studio system to make films, they found that they had that rare chemistry both as a comedy team and as friends. And I think that's why this was a bittersweet but lovingly crafted tribute to them at a part of their career that a lot of people may not know about. And also that I just lost my train of thought.
Well, and you've mirrored exactly what I said in my written review, which was that I thought the secret to their success was their respect for each other.
They definitely had that.
Boy, and I think it shows here, and it's a paradigm for anybody who works with partners anywhere, and to see how they gently and lovingly deal with each other, not without tension points.
Right. There are burdens to being thrown together and having such an intense partnership, but there are also many blessings, and I think that was the point of sharing this part of their story, and that in the end, these were two men who loved each other as friends and were there for each other through thick and thin. And the other joyful part of the film is definitely the tribute that the writers, directors, and actors paid to Stan and Ollie in how they interacted when they weren't on film and weren't on stage, and that they actually did like to play with their audience or the public, and having some scenes that paid tribute to the Music Box, which was their famous short from 1933, where they're trying to deliver the piano up the staircase.
Oh, this is great.
Which, for any of you aficionados, it was the first short live-action film that won an Academy Award. And the staircases still exist.
Oh,
they are named the Music Box Steps. So if you are out in the LA area, you can actually go to those steps and see for yourself the comic genius that it took, and you can imagine them trying to deliver that piano up those stairs, and it led to, here we are 85 years later, and it's still something to laugh about. And the scene where they pay tribute to that in the film definitely brought a smile to my face.
Well, Mary Yerina, here we have the team of John and Mary.
Who don't even hold a candle to the comic genius of Stan and Ollie. But we have a good time anyway.
But we can evaluate them, you see.
Can.
And so, Mary, The film Stan and Ollie. What grade would you award it?
I'm giving it a B.
Okay.
Only because, as much as I liked the film and loved the performances, the script as a story arc to me doesn't quite stand alone. You have to know a little bit more about Stan and Ollie for understanding why the arc of the story is so bittersweet and is so meaningful. I just wish there would have been a little more development of their relationship and why, when we joined them in 1953, the tensions and the blessings of their partnership come to the fore.
Well, we could have a whole other show on your grade.
We could. We may actually disagree for the first time.
So, well, I think I'm going to award it an A minus, and I'm doing that because I am not half as analytical as you are. I am much more romantic about these movies, and it just breaks me up to see these two fine people working with each other and going through the difficulties of partnership and creating something that lasts forever.
Well, and that's the beauty. I hope people do go see the film, and I hope after they see the film, they take the time to go online, as you can today, and see the true genius and the original films of.
Did I just see you do an Ollie?
You may have.